On the road to adventure and discovery, the tribe of AP biology students trekked into the unknown territory of Skidaway Island with their leaders. This is their stories. Upon their arrival, the AP biology students explored their new shelters, the UGA Marine Biology Extension. They were given instructions then set up to rest after their long journey. In the morning, the tribe split into two sub-tribes, each with their own leader. First, they toured the aquarium to learn about the sea life they would encounter. The counter shading of the fish in the water wouldn't fool them. Lionfish, sharks, and jellyfish, oh my. The students were ready to embark on the open waters with a man named Crawfish. The sub-tribes went on separate trawls in order to catch and observe the life of the sea. As we trekked the water, we witnessed a group of the second largest bird in North America, the white pelicans. Their majesty left us in complete awe. We finally came upon our target. Crawfish let the nets down and we continued to troll for minutes. The nets were reeled in. The sea life poured in front of us in a bucket and they squirmed. We began to sort the sea life. The shrimp were thrown back into the vast sea. Some of the fish were taken back to the bays to become food, but always remember, fish are friends, not food. The students fought the crabs as they scurried around the bucket and attacked the tribe's members' fingers. Finally, the tribe members discovered the squids in their chromatophores. The squids also spurted their ink all over the tribe as a form of defense. Finally, the trial was over, and the tribes began their journey back to the base to embark on a nature hike through the merciless maritime forest. The first discovery on the hike was the Spanish moss, which is neither Spanish nor moss. It flowers and is vascular, yet not parasitic to the trees in which it lives. Some may call this commensalism. Just so you know, sweet gum trees are not valuable in real estate. Cite Mr. Chuck. As the tribe continued their hike, they came upon a tree that Native Americans used to cleanse their aura. The leaves of this tree were caffeinated, but too much will make you vomit. As the tribe avoided that tree, they came upon a bridge that overlooked the sea. As the tides were down, they could see the footprints of the little rascals that went down to eat the mussels, the raccoons. One of their final discoveries was a remnant of the work done by the Roebling family. It was a live oak that had poles and cables attached for support that it did not need. Additionally, this tree was home to many organisms. Finally, the tribe emerged from the forest and went to base to explore the world of the oldest living organisms, the horseshoe crab. The tribe learned that the ancient creature was the descendant of the trilobite. Horseshoe crabs are benthic invertebrates that occupy their own phylum and have a simple yet successful body plan. The horseshoe crabs spawn in the full moon during high tide. They crowd on the beach and get to work producing the next generation. Horseshoe crabs have blue blood that helps them attack deadly and relentless gram-negative bacteria. The tribe of students knew that the horseshoe crab was an important creature in the wild ocean. The tribe returned to base and played in tournaments of cards. It was cutthroat and no questions were asked. Finally, the sub-tribes returned to their dwellings. The next morning, the tribe set out on a gut-wrenching expedition to Warsaw Island. They traveled by sea, each sub-tribe with their own leader and boat. Once the tribe arrived on Warsaw, they had to be briefed on what they might encounter. Then they set off on their hike in order to reach the beach. They noticed the tracks of a wild gator. They learned that fires scorched the lands and that succession was taking place due to the natural disasters. There were baby pine trees everywhere. Suddenly, the tribe faced a hill like no other. They had to climb the enormous sand dune that had been forming for years due to storms. Once they reached the top, the beach was on the horizon. On the beach, the tribe explored in order to see what they could find. One sub-tribe found a Ridley turtle, one of the rarest turtles in the great wide open ocean. After all the exploration, the tribe reunited to discuss what they had found. The tribe learned about whelks that are bivalves who filter feed on plankton. They also learned that the female whelks are much larger than males, and that the females leave an egg stream for the males to fertilize. This is also known as external fertilization. The tribe found many sand dollars on their excursion. Sand dollars are benthic dwellers that filter feed on algae. The most interesting find, other than the turtle, was the skeletal remains of one of the ocean's largest inhabitants, the whale. This whale was a true beaked whale that was 15 to 18 feet long. That's massive. Once the tribes of students finished their ocean life discovery lesson, they began their journey back to the boats, but this time they took the path less traveled. Trees had fallen in the path so that the students had to jump over them. They were halfway up the dock when standing in the way of the path was a body of water. The students were trapped. There was no other way. They had to go through the murky water. Unhappily, they dredged through the dark waters, but at the top they were informed that they would just walk through carnivorous plants. Now that their shoes were wet, they finished their hike back to the docks, but little did they know that this was the beginning of a real adventure. The sub-tribes boarded the boats and headed back to base. They saw 2 nests of bald eagles, American pride that could be seen in the eyes of every tribe member. In the distance, storm clouds were threatening the safe journey home. They began to race to beat Mother Nature, but they were too late. No one can beat Mother Nature. The waves were huge as they hit the boat. Every student was drenched. Salt was in their hair, eyes, all over. They were one with the raging ocean. Finally, the tribal boats emerged from the storm. The sub-tribes raced home. The students had one final test to complete before leaving Skidaway and returning home. They had to study invertebrates. The tribe headed to the dock, laid on the floor, and pulled invertebrates from their habitats. During this process, one of the tribe members were injured. It was a wonder that she survived. Once they collected their test subjects, they went back to the lab. Under the microscope, one of the students observed the barnacle. The ivory barnacle is an arthropod that has modified appendages and suspension feeders that allow it to eat. Many observed the sea squirts that were tunicate cordata. They also produce chemicals that ward off organisms from growing on their surface. They finished the lab and loaded the bus so that they could take the Yellow Line Road back home. The tribe learned of revelations in marine biology, but most of all they had fun and they survived. The journey was hard at times, but through the blood, sweat, tears, and Finding Nemo references, the tribe gained knowledge, which is the most valuable treasure on Earth.